And hello everyone, I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
Tank.
And we're here on the front lines, in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity against our sovereignty, our rights to be human. We're fighting every which way, many battle fronts. But how's it going, Tank? I hear we got some great news for the front lines.
Yeah, we do. So Kim told me that that they launched the post office system today. So I asked for an update. So this morning they attempted a hack early today, and on Sunday dramatically failed. And then the postal system launched by us, she said, right? So I said, us is in the U.S. or us is in you, right? So she said us, not the USA. And then she says, Trump has a meeting with the Postmaster General tomorrow. And he is tired of the Fed and the Treasury. Post office is under direction of the executive branch, and Congress has no say in its funds or funding since 1971. So
amazing.
I guess Trump has been playing the Fed against the Treasury, and we should know more tomorrow. So that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's something the only politician I've ever heard mention this is Alexander Cortez, of all people. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
That's amazing. Everything was completely fantastic until you said Alexandria Cortez. But besides that,
Sorry. Well, you know,
it's what a way to throw white water on a
I think she's surrounded by some bad advisors, but I kind of my vibe is that she would do the right thing. She's doing what she thinks is right. Not that I'm a fan. I'm just saying.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So
well, no, I think
amazing, right?
I would say the only part of AOC that's genuine is that she really does care, but she's completely wrong about going about caring for people. You know.
Right, and I agree, and that's what I'm saying as well.
Yeah, that's why
she actually does.
She has a genuine appeal because she's coming from that place. Completely wrong and enslaving all of humanity with the way she's going, but she doesn't see that.
Yeah.
Right? She doesn't understand it.
If the backbone of what you're saying leads back to we've got to eat the babies, then I feel like no.
Right.
You're definitely on the wrong track.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Well, that is totally amazing. So how do we know how this is going to function? You know, and what is this? How does it work? What do we do? Go to the post office and get postal money orders?
You know, man, this is covert operations, right? So I can't say definitively, but I do have my personal theory on this. It would not surprise me if suddenly the postal banking and wallet system was released, right?
Mm-hmm.
And potentially run by the what do we call it? The key
integrated mail system.
It'll be the key integrated mail system. you know, that's what'll launch.
Yeah.
So
you were wondering what the other K.I.M.S system was going to be. You said there's 4, and we only named 2 of them.
Oh, so maybe it's the key international mail system, or something like that.
Okay, that one that could also be.
Yeah, but what I do think could actually happen is whatever it's called. It wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden, I mean, I could see this happening with Trump. That Trump comes out tomorrow, or in the very near future, and says, "Okay, we had some issues with the IRS doing the refund, with the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. So today we're going to launch the new app for your phone. Everybody can download the app on their phones, and it'll be the post office banking system, and you'll be able to go and get funds directly from the post office bank, and everybody can get an account because everyone already who has an address, I guess, probably already have an account, right? Everybody can get an account at the post office, and all of a sudden, everyone can understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because because this thing is dragged out for so long. You could say, look, everybody's entitled to some kind of emergency relief, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but to get it, everybody's got to have the app. So now, if everybody loads the app, everybody could bypass the banks entirely because we'd all have the app, right?
Yep.
We could all use it. That would be incredible. Oh my gosh, I hope that happens.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I can't wait to get the app or or go down to the post office and pick up my postal money. If that's how it happens, I have no idea. Well, but
she said she's launching worldwide too, right? So it also hits every place, you know.
Yeah, well, that's it.
The
post office system actually functions worldwide, and it actually is kind of like, like whenever we were looking at as an indigenous group, and doing treaties with other groups, one of the first aspects of the treaty is to honor each other's mail. Agree to deliver the mail.
Oh, right. And that is the one thing, or like one of the key things, right? That is like, do not mess with mail.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even the cabal,
yeah.
Right? For whatever reason, like, you don't mess with the post office, right? It's like everybody acknowledges the post office is like, because it wasn't set up like, once you establish the post office, that's what, allowed you to do business anyways, because you knew that there was a post office set. So
Yeah, I think there's something towards that. Some of the stuff that I just never even dawned on me was something that Dr. Shiva had brought up, and he invented the first email system, so he was quite familiar, and he actually was commissioned to write a report for the post office on the post office itself making money by doing email, right? So which would be perfect, right?
Right.
Because it would be protected then, right? Unlike now, any of this free email, like Google or Yahoo or AOL or Hotmail or any of this, it's not free, right? You are giving up your rights to whatever you put into that email. You put your children's photos in, you've just given up the rights to them. All right? So,
right.
If you put anything in there, it's not secret. They own it. So, but he gave them this way in which they'd be able to earn money from it, but nothing ever happened with it, he said. But what perspective Dr. Shiva gave about it that I felt that I had no clue about, right? I never realized is that the post office was set up as freedom of the press. It was set up for people to pen letters and be able to deliver them to anyone to spread the word, right? Whatever their truth was, and they want to put in the letters, that got it, and no one was able to interfere with it. No one could intercept it. No one could look at it. It was a federal offense. You go to prison for opening a letter that wasn't addressed to you. So this is amazing in itself to realize that how much that was a fundamental part of free speech. And it also got me thinking about the library system. It follows the same idea, right, of freedom of knowledge. So,
yeah, sure.
So why is it that Google is not run by the post office,
the Dewey Decimal System,
the post office, and the library?
Sorry.
The post, in essence, because it does both things. It has Gmail, right, for mail,
right,
and it's got the library. So why aren't those run by those organizations and eliminate all the advertising?
Yeah.
Right? Because the advertising is whoever pays more wins. So how is that fair for the people that are trying to get started out on things? I've had my I built a business based on Google AdWords before, and I found that business will just disappear as Google sucks you dry for advertising.
Wow, yeah.
Right? Because it will ratchet up, right? If you the only way to win in Google AdWords is to be in the first two slots. People will choose one of the first two links. Think about it yourself. How many times do you go down the list? How many times do you flip to the next page when you do a Google search? 90% of the time, people will just take the top selection. Right. So if you want to basically really go back to the original algorithms for Google, it had to do with how many people linked to that information, how many people found that information, beneficial or like and kind, and would link to it. And the more links you had to information, the higher it rose. All about advertising. So I since the technology was stolen for how to scale up. Say again? Say again? Tank? What did you say, Tank?
Sorry, I keep getting cut off. No, it's a surefire
You're still cut off.
way to avoid anything, right? Is to really?
Yeah, and then we have a delay as well, so that we're probably stepping on each other. Maybe jump off and jump back on.
Yeah, I will.
So the core technology that's used to scale up to distribute information to like the tens of thousands of people all at one time, that was the main problem that was solved. And patented information and secret trade secrets, but the U.S. military and the military-industrial complex infiltrated that company and took over that data and sent it off to IBM, which then sent it out to the other people. So it was IBM's, and IBM, funded it through their service. So all of this technology not owned, and it was now they turned it over to put it in Trump's hands. They not the ownership of it, but control over the technology. So Trump can literally, tell Google and Facebook and Yahoo and all the rest what to do effectively, right? Because he has the core of their technology, what they're all based on. But I think that this stuff, instead of breaking up these companies, which is everyone talking about this, the model that they did with AT&T, all that did was make them a lot of money. Let's not break up Google. Let's have it, transfer how it does business into something that helps all of humanity. Make all the information free to view. Right? Make all of the email private, and nobody can see it. Put it under the Postal Service. This makes things much more palatable.
Heavy. It'd be amazing.
Right? Yeah, so this would be, we talk about freedom, privacy. You can't look at someone's mail. I mean, that's why I haven't used Gmail, since like ancient times, right? I've had a private email pretty much the entire time. As soon as I actually, the first free emails that I joined was Hotmail. Then as soon as Microsoft bought it, I said, "Oh, I'm out of here." As I know Bill Gates is saying, no, it's not a good sign. So, but whenever I did form a Gmail account, I never used it for mail, and at least I think I used it for like anything where it said, you were going to end up getting spam from it. Enter your email, right? So I use the whole thing as just a place to accept spam, right? Because you have to sign up for a website, and but if anything, it was personal or financial, I would not use Gmail. All right. So same thing with Yahoo. I went with Yahoo because I was using the Yahoo Messenger. Who uses Yahoo Messenger anymore, right? It's like they lost. They were the first to do instant messaging.
Yahoo's terrible.
Yeah. Others, Line was doing really well, right? They're the ones that implemented stickers. Who bought them? Microsoft. So as soon as these things are purchased by these cabal entities, then they're useless after that. You got to get out. Same thing with Skype. Skype wasn't owned by Microsoft in the beginning.
Right.
They don't invent anything.
It's amazing how subtle. Some things are very subtle. Some things are very obvious.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just crazy though.
Yeah, I think I'm picking up on some subtleties. Well, let's cover another subtlety here. Let me bring up something here. So I was bringing up George Webb uh, and the information he was providing, and and I said, well, it's very well polished. Let me share my screen with you, Tank. You can follow along with this. And I heard him mention Alex Jones. Now, first of all, just a little background. So George Webb he's been talking about COVID-19. He's basically said it was a biological weapon. Anthony Fauci is a bad guy. He's pointing out that all the stuff that we've been hearing about Anthony Fauci from other sources, right? He was representing this, tied it into a nice story, right? Had a really good way of projecting it, telling it as as like this would be like as if this was Shakespeare's play, right? And you took like a couple of other chapters out of these other books, right? And put them into the middle of Shakespeare's play. When you're reading along, you get to this one part, you say, "Oh, this is completely different author." That was how he was representing three different elements from the HIV virus that got transplanted into the COVID. And who was actually doing that work was Fauci in America. But then the U.S. made a moratorium on it and said, "Oh, you can't do that anymore. There's nothing good that will come out of this. Stop." What did Fauci do was send it to Wuhan, China, and then fund it through the U.S. government.
Wow.
Right? So That's all fantastic information, and he tells the story really well. But along the way, he mentioned Alex. I had a conversation with Alex, and when he said it, he didn't say Alex Jones, but he said Alex. But I heard in my mind, Alex Jones? Is this tied in with Alex Jones? Right? So I started, just taking everything he went off on. So now what's happened with this? So he also said that there was this kind of this religious sect that was looked like it's state sponsored, coming out of South Korea, building up, right? And they had this idea that they're the only religion, and it's their mission to basically wipe out the rest of humanity, right? And then they tied in this different people with the last name of Benassi. And Benassi, there was a woman that was as a cyclist in the military games in Wuhan, China, and that's where everything spread from. And he named this woman as Patient Zero. And I think back in November is when this all happened. And but he was relating these. Now I don't know how they tied in with the religious section spreading the virus with Benassi. I kind of missed that part, but there was some kind of connection. But now CNN has come out and did this interview with the woman Benassi, who he called Patient Zero. And then he had George Webb on the phone, and CNN is showing this as though, hey, this is conspiracy theorists, how bad they are, right? And everything that George Webb now has said is now suspect. So I did a little research, and I said, is there a connection with George Webb and Alex Jones? Wow. So I just put in George Webb, Alex Jones, and I come up with 3 videos right here talking about it, and then other things. But if we just go looking, so here's George Webb, directly. That's basically just who he is. Yeah, that's what it is. But here's one conversation. This is back from in June 2017. Talking about how Alex Jones is pushing one of George Webb's videos in 2017. This guy is talking about how George Webb and Dave Acton, who also was on Alex Jones a lot, they look similar. right? But he's basically saying that even though Alex Jones is promoting now or promoted some videos of George Webb, he's saying that these guys, they're not the same guy, but they come from the same tribe. And he's using the word tribe, meaning deep state.
Yeah.
Right. So just interesting, this connection. This is another guy that's talking about, same thing. George Webb is a distraction, right? From Pizzagate, right? So, what was accomplished, right, from all of this? Oh, that's Benjamin Fulford. So, that's the other thing. Anyway, I guess I must have closed that tab. So, it looks like he's making money off of this as a YouTuber. If the deep state is out of funds, people like George Webb, who seem to have this deep state feel to them. I mean, they're very smart, right? They're very polished. They look like they came out of the deep state. They all have the same haircut, and but he's making money off of YouTube now because the money's been cut elsewhere, right? And so they said, with 100,000 subscribers, you could be making $5,000 a month, and I can say that's probably about right. I was getting up to about, when I crossed over 10,000 people, I was heading, up like, maybe $500 a month, to $600 to $700 a month. So it was getting up there, up in the $700 to $800. Well, I had about 10, 11, 12,000 people following, right? So I can see, you can get to where you had maybe $5,000 a month at $100,000. What about the people that have, 1 million followers, right? So it'd be $50,000 a month. It's some good money, right? Which I did have some dreams about that way back when, before I met Tank, but that's all right.
That's all good.
Yeah. I said, no, this would be really good income right here to work out of my little home studio here. So anyway, but it does appear that this is meant to drive home this this idea that everything is about that the conspiracy theorists must be shut down. They must be censored. So that this CNN interview that this guy did, that's what I closed down. I was trying to show that was really just showing that George Webb coming on this, he kind of looked like he was caught in like a deer in the headlights moment, because he said, well, she denies it, the Banassi woman denies that she has COVID. She denies that she tested positive for COVID. He said that she did. So and then they were kind of just saying conspiracy theorists. So now we notice that, I've noticed that where the censorship is back up, right? So I think that they did dial back the censorship for a while, and now they're re-engaging it, right? They're turning it back up, and they're going to be shutting down more. So the two doctors that popped up, let's see if I can find, where are they at? These two guys, right? From California, Kern County, they said they tested 5,000 people for COVID. So turning out to be around 20% of the population is infected. But with those numbers compared to the number of deaths that they came up with, the mortality rate that everyone was concerned with was 0.03 to 0.1. I think the average of that is 0.02, which is what I had said in the beginning. So I guess it's going to drop down to 0.02, and that we should not have any of this shelter in place, and that shelter in place does nothing to stop the spread. Because he then compared other countries, ones that did shelter in place and ones that didn't, with the same population. Both of them had the same spread. About 20% of the population had COVID. And the mortality rate was the same. So the shelter in place made no difference, and they're saying, don't shelter in place, stop this. And they're imploring the governor of California to stop. Their video on their channel was taken down. Off of this channel, which is still up and running, is Christian News 360. It's still there. But why would they take it down? Now, Sarah Carter, actually said to YouTube, why'd you take these guys down? Why are you censoring them? Are they conspiracy theorists? So this censorship has now been dialed up again because they know what is coming. This is the time where all of this information about who's going to be indicted, who's going down, the acts of treason, this is all going to be coming out, and they're going to claim it's conspiracy theory, and they're going to shut it down. And that's what we were told was going to happen. QAnon had said this from the very beginning. We get knocked off. We have a place on BitChute, and you can also find us in Telegram, right? So be sure to have our contact information, at least in Telegram, the Telegram group, and you'll be able to see our videos. We'll post the links there, so you can still find our videos on, say, BitChute or any of the other places. But BitChute is where everything's been transferred. Thank you guys out there that helped move all of my videos over there. Probably a good idea to get an update. Update the last ones that for the last couple of months. I don't know if they've been kept up or not. But anyway, that's a question, guys. Get back with me. Let me know if you were still keeping those posted, those transferred. We can tell that they're going to be doing this. It's starting to dial up, and when I see this come down, where George Webb and CNN are now in this packaged narrative to say conspiracy theorists, shut them down. We can see that there's more of this going to be coming. What do you think, Tank? Did we lose Tank?
No, sorry. I didn't mess up here. So now there's this, all the rhetoric that they're using, which is like code for censorship, is really trying to make sure that the truth is getting out about COVID-19.
Right. All about getting the truth out.
Really trying to make sure that there's no lies. Yeah, that couldn't be further from the truth, right? Is in reality, it's like there's real doctors. I mean, Dr. Shiba is like a renowned expert in microbiology, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's all over the place. And by the way, I sent my contact with the Trump cabinet, right? I sent them the video I did yesterday morning, right? They sent me back, right? Because it can't be too blatant. They sent me back an interview with Dr. Shiba, and he's talking about the coronavirus and saying how a weakened immune system will overreact. Well, overreact is kind of a universal term used when you're talking about allergy, right? So that's what sure said. And I'm in Trump's cabinet, they're aware, right? So that was comforting, at least, that they knew.
Awesome.
Because, I don't know, it's hard to say what's going down, but, I mean, in reality, right? Like we have bits and pieces, but I mean, everybody sees. I mean, we knew. Like, I think a lot of us knew the post office was a viable option, but it doesn't really seem to be in position to be a bank, does it? So, I mean, most post offices, anyways. So, but that's a big surprise, really. I mean, it can pull off the post office over, right? But she did mention it on that most recent interview she did.
Yeah, it's solely amazing, because that is a core part of the constitutional republic, right? And it's something that they don't have any say over, and they can't interfere with the mail. If the post office was to send out checks to people, if it's checks, if it's an app, then that's another thing. That it would be, the post office acting as a bank, they would be able to move money into any other bank, and they wouldn't be able to stop it.
Right? How do you stop it? It would supersede every other government agency in the Treasury. I mean, the Treasury is really private. The Federal Reserve is private. The post office is actually, an office of the Republic.
Yeah. Well, okay, amazing. That's just totally.
It really is amazing. Yeah.
Well, I think we're seeing that the country is opening up too, right? And so we're going to see which governors are going to be trying to keep things shut down, right? What mayors are going to be continuing to shut down the park, keep the people arrested for going to the park. When the evidence is showing up and saying that sheltering in place is not healthy, does not prevent the spread of the virus, and you're supposed to be quarantining the sick, not the healthy.
Yeah, not the healthy, right? I got attacked by a little emo, kind of shaved head lesbian working the register today. Who she was all like, "You need a mask," and she was so and I refused to wear a mask. I'm like, I have I'm medically sensitive. I can't.
You're what? You're what sensitive?
Medically sensitive. That's a commonly unknown, but it is actually in the law that people that are medically sensitive are exempt. Well, we're all medically sensitive to breathing in our own carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Right. Carbon dioxide can kill you. I mean,
yeah,
it's not healthy to sit there and breathe back in your own air that way. So.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I'm medically sensitive too. So my wife, she wears the mask. She's gonna leave the house and go out, even just around the neighborhood. And if I go for a little walk, right, wear a mask. So I said, I'm not wearing a mask. And then she shows me this video where here in the Philippines, where a foreigner is being challenged by the police, and they said, "You're not wearing a mask." And, well, I'm on my own property, and so he was very belligerent to the police officer, right? And they end up arresting him for not wearing a mask, really. So my wife is saying, "See, you better wear a mask." I said,
"See."
I said, "Listen, that guy deserved it anyway. I mean, he was so belligerent. I would have arrested him." He was being so rude. Be respectful. Just bow out of the situation, right? Why you want to get into a confrontation? Anyway, the funny thing is, he said that he was a Philippine citizen, and he had taken citizenship. But they deported him anyway. They deported. Yeah, they deported him. I don't know where, but I know that they deported him. So he was a citizen, and they deported him.
Wow, that sucks. That poor guy. 1 minute he's just being cocky to police, next thing you know, he's on a boat going who knows where.
Yeah, exactly. He probably is a boat too. I think the airport's still shut down. Oh, they did extend the shelter in place here, the lockdown they call it, until the end of May.
Wow,
crazy.
Yeah, I think we are too here in New York, and you got to think Cuomo is going to push this, because he's really, really jockeying for position. He's trying to lock everybody down past the primaries, right?
Yeah.
And but even now, by doing that, he's actually even turned the Democrats against him, right? So you have a very liberal liberal New York, right? That is like, over the top now, and now everybody's starting to catch on. It's like, wow, it makes you wonder, what's the breaking point? Like, how long do people have to be in lockdown before they start to freak out? You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Because it's, there's no place to go. Like, you can't get your hair cut. You can't get, like all the things. It's interesting because there's a spa, or not spa, but it's a they do like fresh filtration water systems, right? Like, so you go in, like you have a big jug, and you get like a super high quality water, right? But they also have infrared saunas, right? So they've basically been operating, but now they got noticed by the fire marshal that you're not essential, right? So we're writing a letter to them to be like, no, they are essential, based on the the various things here, right? And I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity for the assembly, right? It's like, we'll notify the assembly and say, this is something. Do we have a resolution for it, right? Well, we know for a scientific fact, the biology proves beyond shadow of doubt, coronavirus cannot survive, right, in the temperatures that you have in the sauna.
Right.
So not only is it a essential business when it comes to the water, it's also essential when it comes to here. This will actually prevent people from getting coronavirus.
Right. Right. And if you have it, it'll kill it. Yeah, it's a medical treatment.
Right. So, but then everything goes back to licensing and things like that, right? Because they want to control everything.
Right.
I don't know. I'm very hopeful. I love that we can do that and actually start putting different groups on notice, right, with things like that. Because really, I find it to be one of the most empowering things, the revelation that we have this power as the assembly, right? The collective, of the people. It's really it's an amazing thing.
Is that unalienable indigenous power?
Oh my gosh. It's okay. So Dan and I were talking about this before the call. So even this is part of what happens to all these different groups, right? Why all the groups end up divided. Like, like right now you have lawful America, we kind of stepped up out of necessity, right? But then you have a group called the Republic, spelled with a CK, and then the Rus, which sounds like Russian, but I guess it's supposed to be some other constitutional law group. Then you have National Liberty Alliance, you have, I'm sure there's lots of other ones I don't know, and National Assembly, right? So in the paperwork to reestablish the assemblies, one of the things that we got was this document, and it says, this is the Declaration of our Unalienable Rights. And then it says, held by indigenous powers for the nation state of New York, right? So as soon as I read held by, now, no matter how you phrase that, the next thing should be the people, right? We're talking about unalienable rights. It's held by the people, right? Yeah. We are the ones that are in control of our rights. But it goes to, it says indigenous powers, and they were adamant about it, right? They're really like, no, look, this has been tested, we've used it, we've been approved, like we've researched this for years, right? All stuff. So, but indigenous means that you are born to or native to a place, right? And now, but later in the document, it has indigenous powers, and the I and the P are capitalized. So now it's a proper noun, right?
Right.
So you're saying that my inalienable rights are held by indigenous powers, right? So I was like, what is that referring to? And then I remembered something, right? So you have the scripture in the Bible, Ephesians, the 6th chapter. It talks about we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities in high places, right? So powers and principalities are 2 of the 12 orders of angels, right? So it's actually referring to, like, it's almost like a race within the angelic realm, right? So it's saying that that's what we're wrestling against, right? So then you go over and you see where it says how Satan and his angels fought against Michael and his angels, and Michael cast the devil, or Satan, and a third of the angelic host, the heavenly host, out of heaven into the earth plane, right? So now you have angels that are following Satan, which we refer to as demons, right? And they were cast from the earth plane because they were demoted, right, from angels to the earth. So that's where the whole idea comes about hell being beneath the earth, right? That you said they could cast in the earth plane. So nobody knows where the demons go, right, until you have, the Messiah. So when the Messiah comes on the scene, he starts casting demons out, right? But he's casting them out of people.
Right.
Right? He's not casting them out of the earth. He's casting them out of people.
So he's
right?
casting powers out?
Right. So the angels that were cast out of heaven are the powers and principalities, right? So they're the demons. And they're the ones that are what happens is they are born, and so they're indigenous to these bodies, right?
Yeah.
So they end up being born in a body.
Yeah.
So the indigenous powers are these demons manifested in the flesh, so to speak, right? So if you think about that they might have been tricked into saying in these documents, it sounds like to me anyways, that it's saying that our unalienable rights held by, in other words, they're controlled by these indigenous powers. Now they're indigenous to these bodies, but they're demons that were cast out of heaven, right? And this is exactly, think about it, if you have powers and principalities in high places, right? You're talking about these groups that are existing in the higher realms of authority in the government, right? Now, there was a group, this, it might be the Order of the Black Sun, actually, but it's like, but it's supposed to be demon related, right? That actually runs the international federally regulated tables, right? So I was thinking about it, I'm like, I wonder if this is just, language trickery, right? Now, this group has done great things. They did lots of good things. They had lots of success. And they're convinced this is absolutely what it is. But they were so aggressive about making sure we included indigenous powers. I'm like, why would we include that? I'm like, it doesn't make sense. So, we changed it, the documentation, but I'm like, even when people are really trying to do a good thing, it's just so easy to get kind of sucked into something that's not what you think it is. Right.
Now that, those particular words, when you first said it to me, I said, powers, it just like, it just struck me as you were reading. I said, how the powers are held, and I'm thinking, well, from my perspective, I've always saw, okay, you have source, and we are all an individual representation of source. There's not a transfer of power from source to us. More than the way I see it is us harnessing our power, our source, right? So we're not transferring it to another power, an indigenous power. So when you said held, that's what I heard was transfer. Because if you can hold something, you can now transfer it. As opposed to, it's kind of like transferring your life. Can you transfer your life to someone else?
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. Like your life is just you, right? Like my unalienable rights are mine. Like it's who I am, right?
Yeah.
So it's not something I'm holding even.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just.
As a matter of fact, I think the term is inborn. Yeah. Right? It's inborn, which is innate, and it is, the identity of your being and your worth. Right. It's just who you are.
Inborn
so
source.
These are the rights. Right. And you're right. Like when you look at the concept of source, right? So source being like the ultimate source, substance, limits, bounds, essence, and origin of everything, right? Everything is made up of this source energy, everything. So in that state of source, it's everything, good and bad. It's the devil, it's God, it's light, it's dark, it's happy, it's sad, it's everything. So, it's like, but I like the way you said it, like we are an expression, right, of source, God, or however you say it, right? We're just an expression. And our life, our testimony, our walk, right, really kind of defines how we use that source. And that source is life, though, right? So, I don't know. It's all fascinating to me. I'm just always trying to make sure I'm walking the right path,
Yeah, well, it does bring up a lot of whenever you're starting to deal with language and you get to analyze, when you're trying to create one of these documents that basically represents us. I mean, it's you have to think about it from so many different angles, and then if something like someone is so tied up into something, but it goes against some of their own principles, so like things that are capitalized, you should take note. Why is it capitalized?
Right. Right. If that's not an entity that's separate from me, why is it capitalized later in the document? Right. It's like the name, right? Indigenous powers probably goes back to our Duke, or it's something like that.
It's the indigenous power, the monarch of the previous era. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we don't want to start all over again, right? And be enslaved into a new system.
Right, and think about it, they could have seen in Looking Glass, right, and this was going to catch on, and if they could just get us to use this indigenous power, right, they basically would have authority over us again.
Yeah. 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 Nothing.
That's some tricky documentation, though, when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, wow. I mean, because that's how you would do it, right? You take a group that's doing good work, you do everything right, follow the steps. You take one little phrase, and it completely changes the meaning. You end up giving up your freedom.
Right. These groups are also infiltrated. Just like it's like, how do you control the opposition? You use controlled opposition. Like we're talking about George Webb. Moving in to a position ahead of time, a couple years ahead. And now he's called upon. All of a sudden, he springs on the scene. Right, with these amazing, videos where he's so well articulate and how well he puts together the story about this, it immediately brings, 100,000 followers, and the videos are going all over, and interesting information, right? And 95% is everything is true, right? But it's the rest of it that then brings you down the line to, this is now a conspiracy theory. Look, CNN can push at it, and I know YouTube can now demonetize him.
Right. And then he just steps into a different role in the CIA, and he's off.
Right. It goes and takes over as the next assignment.
Well, it's so interesting because, like, I was thinking with something like, if YouTube was promoting things regularly, right? Like, even we're close now to almost 12,000 followers, right? But it's taking us a while to get there, right? And it makes me wonder, because, like, I remember this guy who was, like, this big, heavy-set, really devout Jewish Yahshuan kind of guy, right, who was, like, giving out intel. And he had this one source who was getting intel, right? It was the same source that Abel Danger and Timothy Holmes was getting intel from, right? So, this was this – now, and we spotted it right away, right? Like right away, we kind of outed Timothy Holmes, and because we couldn't back check it. And he was putting out all this great intel, right? Because people love that military intel, right? Even when it's wrong, they love it. So this guy grew his following so quick to like 85,000. I mean, he was just kind of dumpy looking out by the lake, right? He was talking about he got busted by his like ex-wife who like showed all these horrible texts and the way he would talk about women.
Same thing with George Webb. He's sitting next to a lake.
Yeah. Yeah, so these, it's like, they're just, and so he blows up, and he's, to me, like, we were outing him right away. I'm like, he didn't do anything the right way. Like, like he like printed up things on a piece of paper. He goes, I expose the satanic pedophiles, right? And like, they always go like real extreme when they say stuff, right? Like, I will hunt them down to the ends of the earth. Like, they'll always say like crazy stuff like that, right? And it's like, that's always kind of like their tell to me. It's like, you're overacting.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, relax. So, I don't know. But that guy ended up being just kind of a dirtbag, right? Like, all types of horrible stuff came out. So, but I watch how they grow, and I'm like, well, if I just see it, when people grow that fast, I'm always like, well, you were allowed to grow, right? By this entity, right?
Yeah.
Which, and like you said, when you realize it's directly connected to how much money you make, right? If you're advertising stuff on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's like they're basically just giving you a salary to do a job.
Right.
No different.
Yeah. But it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be a partnership. Right? You're splitting the ad revenue because you're providing the content, they're providing the platform. That's the deal. They changed the deal, right? And they didn't tell anybody. We're going to now use community standards to squash the ones that we don't want to be successful, right? And even when there was monetization on this channel, right, that they just removed, what was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, right? There still was
They freed us, Dan. They freed us.
Yeah, there was a little trickle that was coming through. But one of the other things that they did was they then said, oh, well, you're doing a live program. Everyone's going to view you in the first 24 hours, right? So all of our viewers come within a 24-hour period. Well, they would basically automatically demonetize it. You have to ask for a review. And I was getting about 90%, 9 out of 10, approved to be monetized. But everyone had already seen it.
Right.
Right? So the few
clever
viewers,
bastards.
Yeah, so it's just still demonetized. So in 3 months, like $100 check would come. So it's $33, so $1 a day. We're getting out of this, right? So it wasn't anything really, right? But it was just I was more or less playing around, and I'm trying to see what are they doing? Is this an algorithm or is there someone watching? What are their mechanisms? That's just how my brain works, right? I try to reverse engineer the things that they're doing to us, right? And so I kind of look at these things. I remember I told you. Remember I told you that I had a hack and I was
you reversed the hacker. You hacked them.
I hacked it. I was able to be monetized, right? And and they didn't know it. They didn't know it, right? Only after I told you that it ended the next day.
Listen, there's consequences for being close to me, man. It's the way it goes.
I knew. Listen, I knew what I was doing. I knew that when I mentioned it to you,
yes.
I wanted to see what was going to happen.
I know. I get it. I have to know too. Like, did we really? Are we really free or no?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have the post office YouTube now. Everything will run on the post office.
Well, that is basically it, because that's still content delivery, right? It should be under the post office.
Yeah.
YouTube should be under the U.S. Post Office, yes, for the world, right? And it should be, and if there is a fee to be paid, right? Because mail, there's a stamp, that could be worked out, right? That could be worked out. It could, a small fee could be done. What if you had, what does it cost to run it? What does it cost right? They already know what it costs to run YouTube. All the finances are so now you can't bolster it up. Now you have it locked in stone. You just look at the what they spent over the last 10 years, how they expanded, what was the cost per year, so you can see what it would cost even to keep expanding, and so on and so on, and you could cover that pretty easy. Maybe it would be $1 a month. Everyone's just paid money on stamps. It'd be less expensive than stamps.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, but
well, I love the idea in theory, and all this stuff, I'm, in fact, look, I know it happened as far as Kim has launched the post office system. You got to think President Trump has got to be chomping at the bit, right? Just to be like, come on already, I'm just trying to transfer money. He's a guy who's made money his whole life. Now he's trying to fund people. His whole reputation really is on the line, right? So you got to think he's finally got to be pretty motivated. He's had these other guys fail him, trying to screw him over repeatedly, right? Mm-hmm. Now finally, it's like, hey, Kim just launched the system he can use. That's amazing. It's incredible.
I'm very excited to hear this because this is it all also fits in with with something that can come about now. I see that we're in the eye of the storm portion, right? FISA equals start, right? The indictments we heard, like this leak yesterday, right? Of these are the people being indicted, right? There's a dozen people, and Brennan is the only one that they said treason on, but that also did not include the Clintons, the Obamas, or the Bushes. That will end up being treason, right? And we'll see this come about. But in the meantime, we have the COVID's problem now on the way out. States are reopening. All this information is now set to come out and expose the media for all of their falsehoods. The different governors, the mayors, whoever else that's out there is being exposed for who they are and who they intended to be, and how their dream of dominance over the world is leaving, but they don't want to let it go. But we can all see what they're doing. But we can see the censorship, like we're pointing out here today, about how they use controlled opposition to come in and do something. All right. So,
yeah. It's really fascinating. Like this, the way it's playing out at this point. Even if I knew it would play out in our favor, like the post office would break through, and all of a sudden, this week we're just like, hey, we're just using the post office now. It's a new bank. I wouldn't have thought to sign up for a plan like this, but it does make sense. You've really drained out the resources, right? And at this point, you got to think, well, if that's true, it's like you really have this incredible opportunity, right? All of a sudden, it's the post office. Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to be able to shut down all the post offices, right? I mean, I'm sure that's their next, right now, trying to figure out how they can control the post office, right?
Right.
But they're not going to be able to do that.
Right. Well,
especially not now.
Yeah, not at all. They're not going to be able to do it. But we know that there is this momentum, right, that is now going to be coming about. So if we see that now money is going to flow into the hands of the people at this time, it makes sense that this is when it would happen, right? Because then, as those systems collapse, as no money flows through them, as they lose money, and one of the other things, well, let me give some intel also that I just, I mentioned to you before we came on the air. So I heard that 1.7 trillion is now moving into the stock market. So this is coming from my banking friends in England, right? So they're noticing that there's 1.7 trillion moving. Where is that coming from and why? This is my projection as to what it is. It's these special purpose vehicles, the SPVs, that were set up in this first round of the relief package that was passed by Congress, where they created these SPVs, and that the Federal Reserve was now going to be the one bankrolling all of these SPVs, whose role it is to buy up the U.S. debt. And they mention bonds, so treasury bonds, right? Stocks. When they said stocks, I said, oh, that's not really normally considered debt, right? That's ownership over Wall Street. And 1.7 trillion as being launched to move in to buy stocks, or if it's moving in, that's acquiring the majority position of all of those Wall Street companies to be owned by the U.S. Treasury / the people. And they estimated that by the end of the year, that these SPVs, through the harnessing of the Fed printing the money to fund it all, would acquire all of the debt by December. So you're going to see Trump winning the election, rolling over into the new year, where the economy is already booming, and now all of Wall Street, all of these corporate, I guess, Karen Hudis always pointed out that this interlocking board membership of like the top 150 companies of the world, they rule the world through these interlocking chairmanships or directorships. You see everyone's sitting on the board of each other's companies, and they're able to coordinate. You can replace them now because you're the majority stockholders. So
you know, it's interesting if you.
Hello. It is interesting, Tank, but you'll have to say it again. Tank, we lost you. Tank? It is interesting that we lost Tank again. You may have to jump off and jump back on. I hear you. You said it was interesting, and then we lost you.
Oh, what I was saying is, what's interesting is, if you remember, Kim said that the stock market out of Westport in New Zealand, they use that system to siphon off $1.87 trillion from the market, right?
Same interesting number.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's very interesting. They're saying 1.7, right?
Yeah.
And you can imagine that could be off slightly, right?
Sure.
So and then if you maybe minus 2%, maybe the post office is more equipped than we know, and she infused it straight through the post office. Well, honestly, if this is definitely happening, she launched the post office system. I can tell you right now, there's nothing that can stop her now, because I mean, this is just my speculation. So, but if you think about it, it's like, well, now she has a way to bring money on Ledger directly, and there's no one that can stop it. Right, so she can bring it on Ledger in the post office bank. From there, she can transfer out to anywhere, right? Like you said, all right, you said before the call, but she can transfer out to anywhere. So that's pretty exciting.
No,
I would think anyway. That I haven't confirmed that with her.
Well, that's interesting. Trying to confirm that. It's just an interesting. That's an interesting point. That I forgot that they had to try to siphon that off and steal it. And now we see, and then Kim took it back, right? Let's say, where to apply this? Let's go and buy up all those corporations. Now, I know that the magic wand that Trump has, maybe there's many types of magic wands that he has, but one of these is the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Basically, the guys in the basement of the White House that watch, they also know as a plunge protection team, right? So in case the stock market is taking a dive, they would jump in with up to $2 trillion to buy up stocks to get the market to rise back up. So it was a fund that was created for that purpose. So I imagine that this is going to be a continued effort, right, to continue to fund these SPVs and maybe the punch protection team, and the Exchange Stabilization Fund, to coordinate a way of extracting all of the ownerships from the cabal of all these corporations. It's another front line. It really is. We have to take them out of these control positions.
Well, that would be a brilliant. I mean, it's a brilliant strategy when you think about it too, to maintain a certain sense of normalcy, and at the same time completely transfer ownership, or get rid of this scourge of humanity that exists in all these companies, right? It's like, okay, so all of you that are part of the, turn everybody into stormtrooper agenda, you're gone, right? And we just start over. Yeah, sounds great. I think it's think things are looking up and they're going our way. Everything's starting to click. So,
Yep.
let's see. That means. Oh, and also, by the way, the RV was supposed to happen yesterday, and I'm sure today as well. It's a big thing. So, I'm sure that there's kind of cover there, right? Because people are seeing money move. They think, oh yeah, it's Jassara. It's Jassara.
Yeah. It was always pretty funny. I mean, about Jassara, it's like, where did that come from, right? It's like all the international people say, what about us? You guys have Nasara. What about us? Okay, we'll make it global. I mean, who decided that? You know, what was the...
It was MI6. They actually, all they do all day is create stories.
Yeah.
They're sitting around right now coming up with stories as we speak. Like, let's leak it out that we took over the post office. Yeah, they're gonna say next.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that. And then they'll say, "Oh, it was Kim. Kim is claiming it." Well,
Yeah. I mean, yes, all the systems now for the intelligence, banking, mail, and internet are called K.I.M.S, but it's not that Kim. It's just a coincidence.
yeah,
It's
pretty funny.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, are we good then?
So yeah.
All right. Well, as we
Good,
we covered quite a lot. We can't wait for tomorrow. So everyone,
Me too.
We'll see you. Be sure to subscribe, spread the video, spread it around. Go ahead and share, and give some likes, positive comments, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Good night, Dad. Have a good night.